I ain't know
They're good.
praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise
Hey,
the
Bethany
Lord.
family, we are back for another recap. As you guys can see, we have our recap family, but we have a special guest. I just love when she comes and joins
I
us
love
and
you.
bless us with her wisdom. We have our amazing Pastor Prescott, who is
Thank
just
Yay.
you.
Hey,
she's
Pastor P.
she
Thank
is
you. My pleasure.
awesome.
My honor to hang out with y'all. Y'all let the old girl on the line every
Oh,
now and then.
no, you
Oh,
didn't.
that.
You not. We're not claiming that. Nope, nope.
Ah,
But as you guys see, we have our special guest, Pastor P, as well. We have our sister Maya Labu, also our, social media
Guys.
director.
How you
mhm.
Down,
doing?
down at the bottom, we have Deacon McGee. I like to say it like that, Deacon McGee.
That's how
But
you got
Deacon
this.
Antoine and our soulful sister Des, who always brings us some, life and love and some guidance with her words.
Oh, I'm here for my intro. Thanks, Kev.
Oh, anytime, anytime. And as you guys know, my name is Kevin, and we're about to start with our recap. But before we get into the recap, happy Labor Day to everybody.
Yeah.
I
Happy
hope
Labor
everyone
Day.
is having a good day, but please make sure you're safe out there.
Mhm.
We are still, even though things are starting to open up little by little, we are still in a pandemic. So please social distance, please wear your mask if you're outside or inside, and please do not join in large groups because we want to have a stop to this, right?
Right.
And I want to get back in the sanctuary, but
Right.
we're not getting that sanctuary until we start making those appropriate gatherings and stuff like that. So guys,
Right.
please share this.
Yes.
Please make sure you
Mhm.
are social distancing and everything. Also, as we always say, please share content. You never know whose lives you are touching,
Right.
whether it's your family, your friends, or they may see something, share it, and they share it to somebody that they know. We love doing this recap to just have a discussion of all the sermons that we were taught over the weekend. We
Mm-hmm.
always get a double portion from Encounter as well as drive-in service on Saturday. So also, please post any comments, questions that you have for us because the panel hates answering my questions. I don't know why.
They're hard questions.
I don't know
Oh
why.
Lord, I need a cheat sheet. I need a cheat sheet. Guys, tell me this part.
But no, but we love to hear your feedback as well. That's what makes us, laugh and makes, helps us stay engaged with you guys, right? So
Yes.
before we get started, like I always ask you guys, how you guys feeling today? It's a beautiful
Good.
day,
I
right?
know.
Beautiful.
Feeling great. It's
It's
gorgeous
gorgeous
out. I
I
was
can
up.
can I can I get oh sorry, go ahead.
I was just
Good.
outside soaking up all the sun.
Yeah.
Right.
I want to give Vicky Walls a special shout out. She's one of our
Yes.
Connections Church members.
Oh,
So hey
cool.
Awesome.
Vicky.
Hey,
Hey,
Vicky.
Vicky. Hey, girl. Hey.
If you're watching, everyone, if you're watching, let us know where you're watching from so we can say hello to you. And we
Mhm.
also want to invite you to be a part of our Connections Church family if you are geographically locked out, not in New Jersey, or it might take you a while to get here. So let us know where you're watching from so we can say hello and we can send you information on how to join the Connections Church.
Good
Awesome.
stuff.
Yes.
Good
It's,
stuff.
another way you get that exclusive content too, especially
Yes.
when the social media team links up, you get a little videos or something, right?
Especially the board at the plazas, man. Y'all be,
Oh,
Gosh.
I'm like, y'all are crazy.
Yeah.
oh Lord.
You never know what's going to happen.
You never
We
know.
really don't.
Please
We
continue
really
to pray
don't.
for us, Pastor P.
Ooh, I
Please
was like,
continue to pray for us.
y'all crazy.
But yes, please, if you are not able to, join us for Saturday drive-in service and you are just locked out hours away, that's another way to stay connected with us. It's our connections group. And we love to pop in there, have a conversation with you. Just pop in and just say hi, how's everything going and everything. And just to also make you feel connected with our body, because as you can see, we are a family and we love busting it up and we
Yeah.
love talking about the Lord. So it's another extension of staying connected with us. All right. So guys, let's get into it, right? So I love Bishop sermons. I love each and every series, but I feel like this Read the Fine series is just like redefining people in this season because we're learning more about ourselves. Different layers are getting pulled off, and just every time I like to say he's baking a cake, and every week he adds another layer to this redefined cake, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So this week, this Sunday encounter service, he continued on the power of grace, where he continued in James chapter 4, verse 6, right? He talks about grace causes a favorable regard. Grace causes God to look upon us in favorable ways. This grace is the disposition of God, which causes his kindness to flow from him. Grace is freely given and favor appears to be earned. We learn that we receive grace from God in Christ Jesus, as well as greater grace is available to the child of God. Grace is not a one-dimensional thing, so it can be received from several sources. We position ourselves for favor as we relate righteously and positively to God, but we also position ourselves in grace and favor, or out of grace and favor, by how true we are to the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Come on, Kevin.
So
What? I'm like, nobody was paying attention.
That was the whole intro.
I got a whole Bishop right. I gotta keep him right, because I don't need Bishop calling me into his office now. Kevin, now.
That's not what I said, boy.
Right. I don't need to call me into the office. So, how do you guys feel about this continuation of the Power of Grace sermon? Just this extra layer that we got this weekend.
Something you said, grace comes from different sources.
Mm-hmm.
That helped me a lot, because sometimes we think, okay, it only comes from God.
Mm-hmm.
God can use anybody to show you favor.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I love what's that scripture that say, what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you.
Right.
I love that it says God will make happen for you. So I can bless Antoine all day long, and he has a moment, and he kind of plans, okay, I ain't feeling her no more, so I ain't gonna bless her. That's okay, because God's gonna make it happen for me.
Yeah.
So it may not come back the same way we put it out there. So I love that it comes from all different directions.
That's good. And I think that's also something that we have to remember as we continue in our kingdom walk, because sometimes we do for so many people, and then we're just like, oh my gosh, I did for this person, but they're not showing the same, I'll use our slang. They're not showing the same energy, or, they're not matching us. Right. So I think that's an important thing to remember as we continue in our kingdom walk, Pastor P.
Yep.
Anybody else want to continue about their, how they feel about this continuation of the Power of Grace sermon?
I feel as though it's needed, as most of the sermons are, and most of the sermons are. But specifically, I think it's a great reminder that we are all a work of grace.
Yes.
We're all a wonderful work of grace. And to embrace that, and to thank God for it continually, and to seek him to obtain more favor, but also to extend favor and grace to other people. So I'm just like, okay, this is working, because it's reminding me of what it took to save me. And then also reminding me what it's going to take to save others. So it's good.
Brother Antoine, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
When you talked about Brother Antoine, Deacon Antoine's extending the grace to other people, let's be real.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find it hard sometimes, and how do you handle it when God asks you to extend grace to somebody that you feel like does not deserve it?
Ooh, okay.
I'm glad you're
just
answering
saying.
this one.
Tag
him in. He got it. You got this one, Deacon.
So the real answer is, first, I have an attitude.
I'm not by myself.
Like, why do I have to do this? But then, after a little bit of time, it's just like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Because there's a reason why he's asking. Especially if it's like a frenemy of yours, it's a reason why he's asking, so that they can change their ways, or this may be the only way that they get that blessing or that opportunity. And you never know how it's going to affect later on down the lines, because we see one way, God sees three ways. So it's just like, okay, yeah, you do this, it's going to add up to this, and then go to there. Versus we don't do it, and we just say, okay, I just left him by the wayside, no problem.
Right.
But not knowing how it's going to affect our future, a couple hours from now, a couple days from now, a couple weeks from now. The political correct question, I'll be mad.
Yeah.
Right. You have a little tangent for, even if it's just 10 seconds, I'd be like, God, are you serious?
Right.
For real?
Got to keep it real. Have to.
Right.
That's a good question, Pastor P.
And the thing is too, like, you never know what the impact of your actions are going to be. And like you said, in the same thing, thinking about your inaction, right? So as hard as it might be to, to not let that attitude or the anger that you're feeling get out there, like you have to show that grace to people. And sometimes showing grace to someone allows them for them to show grace back to you.
Yeah.
You never know what that might do to your life in a certain moment.
Yeah.
Right. That's
like
true.
you may be their first teacher of how to, give that grace to someone. That's good, Sister Maya. Sister Des, I saw you move. You got something you want to add to that?
I was just gonna say that the series is like right on time. Like it's perfect for this timing as a reminder of God's grace, because there are so many people who are going through, who are experiencing loss in so many different ways. It's like God's grace is still on us, very, very, very much so. So it's like, yes. And even like you said, like certain, like people's grace can be extended. So like as crooked as our government is, there is grace in what they're doing as far as like extending like the stimulus for some people or you know what I mean? So like God is still showing up in different ways for us, even though we are in a very dark and different time. So
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
This is a good time.
I can see where this is about to go today.
I know.
Y'all are dropping gems already. We already 10 minutes in.
Look at that.
So before I say all this was a big one. So Bishop said resistance wears down persistence.
Yes.
If I resist the devil and I'm persistent and will wear down the devil's persistence. Ready? If I resist the devil and he will flee from me, my resistance will wear down his persistence. Your resistance consistently will wear down the devil's persistence until the point that he says there is no use. It's a lost cause, and I'm going to try this on someone else. This is why when Jesus was in the wilderness, he resists the devil. When the enemy thinks your resistance is at its lowest, that's when he comes to test you. This is how people underestimate you. Just because I physically look weak does not mean I'm spiritually weak. So when it appears I'm weak, I am made strong. So like we've just been saying, this Redefined series has been on time with everything that's going on in our world, right? So there may be someone that is struggling spiritually at this moment, considering everything that's going on. What advice would you give them? Maybe it's something that you do to feed your spirit or faith.
I have been concentrating like diligently on increasing my faith, increasing my trust. Because I think sometimes with faith and trust, we think we have to see it to believe it. But God wants us to bring all of our fears and everything to him. All of us during this pandemic, all of us at one time or another may have had a level of fear, but that fear should drive us to God and not away from God.
Yeah.
So I think what Satan wants to do is us to experience a human thing like fear and back up from God. But what God wants us to do is draw even closer to him, even with the fear.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the faith shot comes from, if you will.
I like that. Panel, what advice would you give people that are dealing with their spiritually?
I would say continue to find fellowship, like to continue to lean on to your community, like the people around you who are positive, the people around you who are uplifting, who, when you have your bad days, when you have your days where you feel like your faith is low, when you have your days where you feel like you just want to give up, like turn to those people that God has put into your corner, those brothers and sisters, those moms, whoever those people are that lift you up, like really, really, like know that you're not alone in this. Know that God, he doesn't want you to be alone in any way. So go to that relationship that is like grounding for you, really.
I like that. It's good. Sister Maya, Deacon Antoine?
I would echo what everyone has said, but I would also add to speak words of like affirmation to yourself, just like how Christ spoke, use God's words against the enemy. Do the same thing when you have those moments of whether it be low self-esteem or fear, speak to it. Speak the word of Christ, word of God into whatever it is that you're facing in that moment to build yourself up.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Deacon?
I would say, and I said this before, remember the word that God spoke to you. In times of difficulty, sometimes for me, it's easier. I find that boost of faith when I remember what he said to me. Because sometimes throughout life, throughout the trials and circumstances, the word can get plucked away or you can forget about it because you're dealing with something in front of you. But if you remember the word, it takes you back to that place when he first spoke it to you. And you'll get that re-energizing faith, that moment, like, okay, I remember what he said. Now I'm going to hold on to it with everything that I got to keep pressing forward, because sometimes life makes you want to quit.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you don't hold on to something, and it said the word is an anchor. If you don't hold on to that thing, you know, if you don't build on it, you know, build on that rock of the word, then you're just going to start drifting away when the winds blow. So that would be my greatest advice. Remember what he said to you personally, then also look at the promises that are in the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, he'll never leave you, forsake you, he'll keep you in perfect peace, all these types of things. You know, I can keep going, but that, you know, that would be my best advice to you.
I like that. I like that. That's so true.
Kevin, can I add something to?
Go ahead.
I think the worst thing we can do when we talk about, you know, fellowshipping and getting with other people, I think the worst thing that we can do is be super spiritual and try to make people think we never ever fear.
Yeah.
Or we never ever have a doubt. I don't care if you got 5 titles, 100 degrees, it don't matter. We all in this together. So I think we do the body of Christ a huge disservice when we say, I've arrived. I don't have these feelings. You need to come where I am.
That's one of the things I love about Christ when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. Like he was
going
through it.
Exactly.
Come on, Minister LaBoo.
Minister LaBoo.
Right.
For real, I'm not feeling this right now.
Right.
So that makes it okay for me to have moments where I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm not sure if I can handle it, but let me pause and trust in God and what he sees the outcome is for my life.
Yeah.
Right.
You gotta regroup.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. So God resists the proud because pride is persistent. God resists that pride until that pride ceases to persist. Yet when I'm humble, he gives more grace. If you want to attract more grace, humility attracts more grace. The more humble I am, the more active grace I can receive. You can only do this when you submit yourself to the Lord. And by submitting yourself, you are resisting the devil. Our interactions with people ultimately define us, and we find ourselves having a battle against their perceptions or their labels of us most of our lives. It is until we come to know the Lord and starting believing that the truth of his word concerning us more than we believe the truth of our own experience and the words of our own inner conversations. So I know the impact our interactions we had in the past play a major role in our lives, right? But, you know, let's just say, you know, we got saved and everything, you know, we're on fire for the Lord. I love the Lord. Can we discuss how important our interactions that we have presently are for our kingdom walk and journey? You know, especially when we get in, like Pastor P says, you have different titles and stuff like that, or you're working on this ministry, that ministry. How important are interactions that we have with people? Because, you know, as sons and daughters, you know, we have to continue to lead people to Christ and stuff like that. So how do we manage that with our own personal, because we're all in ministry. So how do you usually like battle like your personal issues, but also helping lead people to Christ?
One thing I'm trying to learn to do is to not wear my pain or wear my heart on my sleeve, so that like you can see the joy of the Lord on me. You know, like I tried to make that come through more, like even when I'm having bad days. And like there are days where it'll still slip through and I'm like, I don't feel like being bothered. I don't want to people today. But I still
I love that. I don't want people today.
No,
I like that.
Real.
That's a t-shirt.
But like with days when I have days like that, I still try to remember who I'm representing You know, like not only am I like in the world am I representing Bethany, but most important, I'm representing God. So it's like I need to, like, I might be having a bad day, but somebody else could be having the terrible, like the worst day of their lives, and all they needed was like my place in their life at that moment was for me to show up and just bring them a spark of joy to change, you know, the direction of their life. So if I'm on some, you know, where I don't feel like being bothered and I'm, you know, in my feelings, I could miss the opportunity to show up for somebody else. So yeah, I'm just learning to do that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And that's real.
Love that. And I think going back to keeping it human, sometimes there might be moments where I am way off the mark and I let the tube show, and that's a representation. It's important to me that I go back and apologize and own up for it. And I think that can be an example too of what it means to be a Christian and say, like, you know, I'm sorry, sis, that's not what I meant. That, for me, that's another way of showing God's love and showing, I guess, my character as a child of God, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
most definitely.
And I think you have to be really mature to do that too. Especially to go back and apologize for somebody, you got to be really mature. I think there has to be a balance between I'm going to show you that I have a bad day, and sometimes I don't feel like it. Sometimes I don't feel like coming to church, just like you. But I also have to show you that when I have those kinds of days, it's like I take that part of me and put it over here, and I still do what I'm supposed to do, even though I don't feel like it. It's like working out. You know how you have like 4 or 5 days where you don't do nothing? And it's like, oh, I don't feel like it. But then once you get up and start doing it, you're like, come on, bring it on.
Yep.
That's what I can liken it to.
Great illustration. That's a great illustration.
But I think it's so important to just let people, within reason, within boundaries, let people see who you are, the positive and the not so good. Because I think they learn more from our mistakes than they do from our victories.
Yeah.
Yes. Oof. Y'all saved me today.
There's also this thing of like people thinking that because you are a Christian that your life is now perfect, or that you're supposed to be, you know, oh, aren't you Christian? Why aren't you happy all the time? It's like, I have the joy of the Lord,
we have it harder. I feel like we have it harder that we're seeing, you know, like, and I feel like you have those people that are like, they're on the fence about their faith and everything, about their religion, and they're just waiting for you to have those, like, see, like, you know, what happened. And it's just like, that's where it finds the hard balance, like you said, like, to be full transparent. Like, at the end of the day, yes, we're human, like, we're gonna have those days, but knowing that, you know, like Pastor P said, like, getting back on fire with, like, okay, I'm having that bad day, but like, let me get back on it. When I'm back on it, I'm on fire for, you know, so it's definitely a battle. Deacon, did you want to share?
Oh, okay.
Okay, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say Jesus even had a little bit of a temper. He was in there flipping tables, so he was flipping tables and whatnot.
Right. Jesus was not playing. Jesus was not playing. Right. Go ahead, Deacon.
I would say this is a full transparent moment, but probably the last 2 weeks have been the hardest time in life for me. Losing 2 relatives back to back.
So sorry.
And thank you. And trying to continue to push through. Carrying a heavy load at home, carrying a heavy load at work is just like no place to be of peace sometimes. And you know, it's been sometimes where some people have gotten on my nerves, and I wanted to say some things. But I always, and I think I've said this a lot, I always remember what Bishop said: you're always in the position to be gracious. And I try to consider how I felt when people snapped off at me. But then I'm up front with some people, like, today is really not the day.
Right.
And they kind of get it. You know, I'm like, yeah, I'm not really in the mood today. So that foolishness that you bring into me, here's your warning, okay? Next time, I'm not liable for what may come out of my mouth.
Right.
So that, and then the way I push through is just remembering what the goal is. Remembering that there's still a job that needs to be done. and, you know, having my moments to process what I'm going through, you know, in private. But then also when those that I trust, they can see when I'm going through.
Yeah.
And that happened, you know, probably like last week. I was at rehearsal right after we did a recap. I went to rehearsal and they saw that there was something different going on. And, you know, they asked me to pray and I was like, y'all need to pray for me.
Right.
So I did pray, and then they were like, yo, you've never prayed like that before. I was like, I don't even remember what I said, but it just came out. And then right from there, we went into a worship moment for 30 minutes.
Wow.
And we just worshiped for 30 minutes. We was all crying. I was crying, but it was something that was needed.
Right.
And sometimes we have to remember, you know, we're always in a position to be gracious, and it's okay to have your moments.
Yeah.
But I'm like Ava, you know, I'm up front with some people. Like, hey, listen, today's not the day. You might wanna back up.
Yeah.
You may want to take 2 steps back.
Right.
12 feet.
Right.
He didn't even do 6 feet. He said 12.
Give me 12 feet. Especially when you get that one email and you like, I cannot respond to this today.
Yes.
I'll see you next week.
It's gonna be the wrong thing, I promise.
Right.
I think you just gotta know yourself and know when you gotta break away to regroup.
Yeah.
Get your mind right.
Yeah.
So you can bring.
Yeah. And it doesn't help none that we're in the pandemic and we can't do some of the things that we used to do to relieve stress. Like I want to go to the gym, but I'm nervous.
Don't do that.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it.
Like I want to go to the movies was my thing. I want to go to the movies, but I can't do that.
Drive in movie theater.
Drive in and work out at home.
Right. You know, that kind of thing.
Well,
some people can work out at home, and that's me. But
what you got to do until you get there, right?
But you know, that's the hard part. You know, then finding new ways to cope, new ways to reinvent your relationship with God, because sometimes our relationship thrived in the building. And now that we're not in the building, now we have to focus on thriving at home. And for people, it's not easy.
Yeah, there was a woman that I saw today. She came in and she said that she feels kind of lost because she's not connected, you know. And I was like, you can try, you know, looking online. She's like, I don't have a smartphone. And I was like, you can try. What about your computer? She's like, I don't have a computer. I was like, she's like, I'm still getting the word. I was like, okay. I was like, have some Bible study with some people you trust or something, like still some community.
So you know what I think that reveals, Sister Desiree? I think that reveals that I'm not going to say most, some of us may have depended on the church to give us all of our feeding.
Yeah.
And the church is supposed to feed us, but we are also supposed to feed ourselves. So I think, unfortunately, some people, if they haven't been self-feeding before the pandemic, they're in a tough spot now because they were used to being fed everything. So you can, if you just hear a sermon that Bishop preached and take notes, Sunday, Wednesday, if you meditate on that all week long, there you go. You got it. You understand? So even if you don't have a computer where you can be on every day, there's things you got to. We have to push ourselves, and we have to get outside of our comfort zones. The comfort zone was Bishop always fed me. Bishop always fed me, and that's fine. But you got to also feed yourself.
Yeah,
I think that's critical during this time.
Yes, that's so true.
And if you don't know where to start, drop us an email. Can you help me with learning the Bible? Where should I start? Can you give me some recommendations? Because we got more time now.
Yes, that's so good. Thank you, Pastor Faye. That was good.
You're welcome.
So referring to Joseph's story in Acts chapter 7, verse 9, envy caused an action, right? Envy has 2 dimensions. One where it stays internal, and the second is when you start to act on the envy. In the context of Joseph being the youngest and being the most favored, they sold Joseph into Egypt. They put him under the control of Egypt. When they say they sold him, he lost control of his life as far as the people could see it, but God was with him. When his brothers sold him as a prisoner, they made a mistake because it was the kickstart to his journey. Joseph went from being sold into possession of bondage to being the number 2 man, not just over Pharaoh's state affairs, but of all of Pharaoh's house, all because of the power of grace. So let's discuss a moment in your life when you were placed in a season where you thought you were going to experience trouble, but ended up being blessed in the process.
Hey, Kevin.
Deacon Antoine gonna go first.
Okay. Go ahead, Deacon. Start us off.
I guess I'm going first.
Tag, you're it.
So experience a time where I thought I was gonna have trouble, but really experienced grace. Okay, there was a time. I'm not gonna give all the
right.
No. We got it. You know, because it's church folk. We don't know.
I'm definitely noticing. I'm gonna be like afterwards, and be like, "What happened, Dick? Tell us."
Like, call me.
Off air. I'll tell you the details. But there was a time where I thought I was going to get in some serious trouble, and it was rightly so because of what was said and done on my part. I should have, but the individual who was my leader at that time covered me. You know, he put me in a room and we talked, real talk, words that I cannot utter, and but at the same time he covered me. And what I learned from that instance was, 1, be careful. 2, honor leadership that is willing to cover, and willing to take the hit so that you don't have to take the hit. But then respect them enough to change. And that was a lesson. Good thing I learned it when I was in isolation. Nobody really knew who I was. So that was good. It was before I became who I am now. So it was good for that time, and it carried me now to there. And I thank God for it, that I experienced grace. And oddly enough, I thank him that I made the mistake.
Okay.
Because the mistake helped me to become, who I am and how careful I am now versus being reckless with what I do and say. So,
all right. Good. Well, thank you for being so transparent with us. We're covering some things.
Right.
I still want to know.
Talking the code, right?
I want to know the full tea.
Right. That's my order too.
Right.
Pastor P, do you want to go next?
Okay.
Can
so
you repeat the question? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pastor.
No, go ahead. Repeat the question.
Okay. So, discuss a moment in your life when you were placed in a season where you thought you were going to experience trouble, but ended up being blessed in the process.
I would say that I had been placed in a season where I thought I was going to experience trouble, but I did experience trouble.
Okay.
I think when I look at the life of Joseph, he pretty much got into trouble just doing the will of God.
Yeah.
He didn't ask for the favor. He didn't ask to be elevated. He didn't ask for any of that. But if you look at every juncture of his life and the end result, we find that the trouble actually transformed him and transformed his situation.
Yeah.
And for me, not full disclosure, but somewhat full disclosure. When I got elevated, there was some trouble I experienced that I didn't expect that I was going to experience. But in hindsight, I see that trouble, if you will, was necessary to give me the strength and the capacity that I have now.
Love it.
Brother Kevin, we were talking earlier that you don't know how much strength and capacity you have. Sometimes you feel like God is stretching you like a rubber band. You feel like you're being stretched, and I'm going to break. But God knows how much to stretch you, to reveal the capacity for his will that we have. And troublesome situations allow us to see that. So all things are, when the Bible says all things are working together for the good of the Lord, and when the Bible says God will supply all my needs according to his riches and glory, sometimes we need a season of isolation. Or a season of trouble, because it's going to reveal the greater character that God has and the greater will that God has for us.
Amen. Can we sew into this right now?
Let me give you my Cash App. No, I'm kidding.
Come on, Pastor P with the Cash App.
Y'all are funny putting this thing up here.
Oh, that's funny.
Pastor P have her own code.
Lord, that's
Pastor
funny.
P.
Right?
Terrible.
But Sister Des, do you want to go next?
So I think about like my career wise, how when I guess I don't even know, it wasn't really getting fired. It was just kind of like not getting booked anymore. You know, when everything started to happen like in the fashion world, and then it started to morph into my wellness, you know, it was like Kevin, ask your question one more time because
No, most definitely. So discuss the moment in your life when you were placed in a season where you thought you were going to experience trouble, but you ended up being blessed in the process.
There it is. Okay. So the trouble I thought was like losing my job and, you know, having to, in my head, well, I had to get humbled. So I got off my high horse because in my head, because I was working in the fashion industry, I was like, you know, I am on my way to Paris. Like, you can't tell me anything. Like, I'm on my way up, you know. And you guys know I'm working wellness now, and like I do my that is where my life is going. But so the trouble was losing my job, or so I thought, losing my job, losing my position, losing my drive for fashion, because like it kind of like that, I was like, I must suck. You know what I mean? I must, I clearly they don't want me. No one wants to hire me in this industry. Like I just felt blackballed, and I felt like, looking back on it, I know that it was God, like doing what he was doing, because he was moving me into my action, like really into my purpose. But where the blessing of that came is that the fashion industry is coming back around in a different way, where it's now incorporated into my purpose. So I can't, you know, I'm going to be like Deacon Anton. I can't tell y'all too much, but you know,
dropping them more.
Yeah, I can't tell y'all too much, but like the fact that it's like circling back around in something greater than I even thought. Like I was, even in that moment, even in the past moments, I was thinking small. Like I was on my high horse, but it was still on a very low level. So now that I'm like humble and I'm like, okay, whatever you do, Lord, is going to be great. He's now doing things that I didn't even think. I was like, oh, wait. Like praise now that the things are happening, I'm like, wait, you sure? Me now? Okay. You know, so yeah, soon come. I'll be able to tell y'all what's happening.
All right. I'm loving it.
Can't wait.
And last but not least, Sister Minister LaBoo.
Minister LaBoo.
In my tea class.
She's like, I'm staying in my lane.
Right. Say the question one more time because I missed it the first time.
Yeah. So discuss a moment in your life when you were placed in a season where you thought you were going to experience trouble, but ended up being blessed in the process.
Trying to think. I know I mentioned before about my surgeries. That's the main one for me. But I think also that's kind of how I got into photography. Wasn't anything that I've done before. I had a client that wanted me to follow her for a whole weekend and do her photography for her brand. She's a big like influencer. And at the time, I was like, one, I don't feel like being here and following you around all week. But it helped me to find my passion in terms of photography and doing it for branding and, you know, things along that line. So yeah, that it was something that I thought was going to be a challenge, but it's something that led me to discovering a really big passion of mine too.
I love it. Awesome. I like it. So we learned that we see God's grace in creation, in his animation, and in our illumination. And we see the revelation of grace manifested in his vacation of his throne. He gave life and he gives life, including fellowshipping with him so a relationship can build with him, and he is the light that shines in darkness. When God decided that he wanted to live with us, he sent his son. Jesus comes down and shows us God's true nature. He shows us the feelings of God, the frustrations of God, the work of God, the power of God, the might of God, and the mind of God. Jesus comes down to reveal him to us, right? So I think this is a great segue into drive-in service, where Bishop continued in the Redefined series, but he said that I'm all in, right? So he says that the Bible lets us know that God sends us Jesus, and Jesus comes into a relationship with the believer so that we can have a relationship with God. God facilitates our ability to come into relationship with him by sending his son and moving us by the Holy Spirit. Ultimately, what the Lord wants is for us to be connected with God. This is the divine connection that has generational principles embedded into it. God to his son to us. And now we have the same opportunity to share this relationship to impact those that are related to us. This generational relationship that we have been given can be referred to as a generational blessing. The Lord wants us to have a vision for the next generation, a vision that we speak and a vision that we write down, because visions that are not written are incomplete visions. So in today's society, why is it so important to have a vision for the next generation, panel?
Well, it's kind of obvious, but they're next, and a lot of people who are next don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And we need to prepare them. It's our job to prepare them just like we were prepared. Or our lack of preparation should give us that drive to prepare the next person. Or the next group or the next generation, because you don't want them to experience the same thing that you experienced. That's one of the things that Bishop taught me in private. He was like, listen, I'm going to show you everything I need to show you so that you don't have to go through the loopholes I've had to go through. And I was like, okay. And I wasn't prepared for what was coming after that, but it was a great experience because he showed me what to do so that I didn't have to go through the pain and the things that he had to go through. And so that I focus on what was going on. And I think that's important because we want this next generation to be just as powerful or even more powerful than we are. We want them to have more influence than we had so they can make the changes that we need to change, especially socially, economically, education, spiritually, all these different things that we're in the middle of trying to make imprints on. We want them to be able to just take what we got and keep going. And I find it very, very important, starting at a young age all the way up until they're ready to just take the baton and run, because you got to walk before you crawl and all that good stuff. I mean, crawl before you walk before you run. So that's why I think it's important, and make sure when we're sharing our vision that our vision is complete.
Yeah.
So they don't have to add anything to it to make a conclusion. That is fully written down the way that God wanted it to be written. The same way that, he gave the vision to Moses about the tabernacle. It had all the details.
Right.
Everything to the very last thing. And you had to follow it. So we need to follow that same suit. God doesn't give incomplete vision, so we shouldn't give incomplete visions.
Okay, Deacon.
So to tag on to what Deacon Antoine said, I think that when we pass on vision, it's like we're passing on a playbook. And I think when we do that, we allow the people that we're passing it on to avoid the problems and the pitfalls that we had. I heard a quote once that says, I want my ceiling to be your floor.
Yeah.
Oh.
I want my ceiling to be your floor.
Wow.
So when we pass on vision, we're saying, I want you to be better than me.
Absolutely.
And because you have this playbook, you have an advantage to be better than me. And I think with that, of course, we can't be selfish.
Yeah.
We can't have the attitude, I got it, so you're going to have to figure it out. And I don't know about y'all, but for me, when I was your age, I really didn't have anybody to talk to me and share their wisdom with me. So I felt like I was winging it.
Mm.
And then when I look back, I'm like, I could have been so much further along, had I had somebody that was able to share vision with me and wisdom and all of those things. So you guys are in a wonderful place to have leaders that are not stingy with
Yes.
the pitfalls, the progress,
Yep.
the process, the problems, all that stuff in between.
Yes. That's so true, Pastor P. And that's why I just love, not just because it's the best church in the whole entire world, but I just love Bethany because Bishop and Pastor Nick, you see that they always, every year they try to up the ante. So what else can we do to get the generations to come in? Because they know they're trying to establish a foundation that's going to have a lasting longevity. Let's just say longevity. And that comes with, collaborating with the youth, collaborating with, us millennials, doing panels, having honest discussions and stuff like that. I see that at Bethany, and I've seen it since I've been at Bethany, the evolution of it. And I feel like that's what we need to do, especially in the times that we're dealing with coronavirus, the injustices of the world, political, we need to have these conversations. And what better way to have these conversations with people that already experienced it or are going through it with us. So I totally agree with you, Pastor P, that leadership is so important. And something that you talked about a couple weeks ago on the panel is that mentorship is important.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. So you can learn at Short Circuits, you're learning, you get through stuff quicker because you have somebody to tell you, see that right there? Like, I don't have to touch a hot stove to know that if I touch a hot stove, I'll make it burnt. Like if I see you do that and you got a burnt hand, I ain't touching a hot stove.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So you avoid some pain when you have people that you mentors that you can learn and grow from. And one thing I love about Bishop, I'm gonna be real. A lot of pastors his age would be like, okay, you know what? I'm winding down. I'm gonna just coast along. I don't really care about the young people, like I should. Let them just come to church and just sit in church like everybody else. But I love that Bishop has a vision, not just for adults, but for millennials also. Because you guys are our future. So I love that he takes time out to consider that. And a lot of pastors do not.
That's so true. So true. Sister Des, Sister Maya, did you want to talk about the importance of having that vision for the next generation?
Do you want to go, Maya, or want me to go?
Oh, it doesn't matter. You can go.
So I will agree with what you said, Pastor P, about like with Bishop, he definitely does, like, he sees us, I do appreciate that very much from him. And as far as like in my personal life, like when it comes to like generational blessings and, having vision for the future, one thing that I do, I don't have any children or anything yet, but one thing I do is I pray over my womb and that whoever is in there, that like if I'm going through something or if I'm feeling something, like I'm breaking chains for them, so like I'm healing for myself, I'm working for myself, but more so for whoever's behind me, because I don't want them to feel what I've felt or to carry what I'm carrying from, the people who have gone before me, so there's like, if like scientifically, your, like from a woman's standpoint, your like I think it's your grandmother, like your your grandmother's eggs were your mom's, and you were still in those eggs. So like once, so like I don't carry just my my children, I carry my children and my grandchildren. If I'm saying that right, if I'm lying, someone let me know. But I'm pretty sure, like I'm pretty sure it's like I'm not just carrying one, like I'm not just carrying my child, I'm carrying my grandchild. So I'm like, I'm not doing it just for me. I'm not breaking chains just for me. I'm not trying to get as healthy as I can just for me. It's like I want this to be a line of now new mindsets, new thought processes, new financial blessings, new, like how to, you're going to know how to manage your money. You're going to know how to love properly. You're going to know. And so, like I said, that's one thing that I do for myself is I will literally like just hold my lower belly and just start praying over it. Like whoever's in there, I'm getting this work. You know what I mean? Because like,
That's good.
I'm crying and I'm breaking it down for you so you don't ever have to do or feel or see or experience any of this. So that's where my generational blessings are coming from.
Woo!
Yeah.
We can go home now.
Right?
Yeah.
That's good. Minister
good.
LeBou?
That's good.
I love that. I love that, Des. I think when thinking about things generational, oftentimes it's given a negative connotation, like generational curses, or I get my bad needs from my grandma, like those sort of like negative things like that. But I think it's so impactful when you're speaking generational wisdom, generational wealth, generational good health, whatever. That has an impact. So I think it's so important that we speak, for the people who are after us, because it can be a difference in how they respond. If that makes sense.
I like that. I like that.
Words have power.
Yes, they do.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we can all think about somebody may have said something to us 10, 15 years ago, and today we can still feel the negative impact of those words. And then we can think about how hard it was for us to overcome those words from 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Words have power.
And we hold on to those things within our bodies too. So like I said, again, from like a female standpoint, you can hold that and carry that on physically, and even, within yourself, like you said, like bad needs, like that can be like a trigger point for where you are holding your anxiety from what somebody said to you. Yeah. So.
And Bishop talked about that a couple weeks ago. It's the internal labels that
and that's why I love when Bishop says, I think he said it Saturday or Sunday, he said you find a word, you read the word, but then you declare the word. A lot of us, it's just in our head, we get it stuck in our head, but no, start speaking those words. Because words have creative power. So we have to learn to speak. I believe, therefore I speak.
Yes.
It's
so high. It's good. That's good. So God's vision for you will always include an individual or individuals critical to your vision's fulfillment. This means that in order for a vision to be complete in your life, it cannot be done independently of the people that God sends to help you fulfill his will in your life. You will know God is working when your location contradicts the word of the God. God gives you a dream like this because your flesh will never accept that God's going to bring you out of the season that you're in. So those that are tuning in, Monday we do a recap, but we also have Maximize Monday. And, Maya, you and Pastor Nick, and it was good. They inspired me.
Go, Minister LeBou.
So they talk about maximizing their creativity, right?
Yes.
And that challenges can produce creativity, right? So let me ask you guys, do you believe we run away from our breakthrough because we keep avoiding the challenge?
Absolutely.
I'm so guilty.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, who was running away from a challenge?
Me.
Most of the people in the Bible were presented, when they were called, they were presented with a challenge. If we want to be current, we can use Moses as Bishop was using. He immediately used his words to escape the call of God. He started saying, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this, I can't do that. Disqualifying himself, like, I'm gonna just go this way. I know the tree's on fire, but I'm gonna go over here. Like, don't set me on fire. Let the tree stay burning, but I'm gonna go over here. And I think when we do that, like you said, we do run away from our creative power, but we also run away from purpose. Because God gives us creativity to fulfill purpose as well. Because purpose has to be creative. It can't be dull. If we think about what happened in Egypt, those were very, very creative miracles. Very creative plagues, very strategic. Jonah's a good example too. Okay. Very strategic.
Oh, there we go.
Very strategic plagues that continued to chuck away at 400 years of captivity. and show them who God is. And that's all our creativity is supposed to do, to shine a light on who God is in us, you know, with Maya's photography studio, with Ded's yoga, and Kevin, all the stuff that you got cooking. I don't know,
long list.
you know, all that. And Pastor P and all that, like all these different things shine a light. And it's important that we don't run away from the tough times, because the tough times make us instead of breaking. You know, so it's kind of, you know, just remember when things get rough, get deep and keep on chucking, keep on pushing.
I like that.
Because, you know, because the creative power is there. You know, he gives it to us for a reason. He's a creative God. Come on, man.
Oh my God.
Smoke and grass became green. Come on, man. I'm done. Go on.
Can I share something out
Go
of
ahead,
that I read
please.
in my devotional today? Okay, so I'm reading devotional today, and it's talking about creative faith, right? How faith has to invent. All right. The people that took the man with palsy and tried to get him to Jesus, right? The house was full of crowds blocking the door. So them jokers tear the roof off and let the man down through the roof. Now here's the thing. The roof had to be removed, which means there was dust and a measure of danger to the people below. Right? So faith had to take risk. Faith had to get creative and bring the man with the palsy to Jesus. That bless my soul, y'all. So sometimes our faith can invent also.
Yes. Yes.
Just like we trust people to come up with creative, witty inventions, faith can invent also. That bless my soul this morning, y'all.
You just blessed so many people. Everybody is streaming on YouTube, Facebook, everything.
Mark chapter 2, verse 4. Meditate on that. They tore the roof off. They didn't say, oh my God, we want to bring this man in, but there's too many people and we can't get them in. Okay, I guess it's not my season. No, they ripped the roof off.
Wow.
So faith requires a level of risk, because the people below them was all the dust falling from the roof, and they didn't care. Faith became creative. All right, that's all I'm going to say.
All right.
And I'm sure too that they were in risk too of falling through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Connections. Come on,
yes. So we can't look at a situation and be like, okay, I guess I can't do it because the door won't open. Too many people in front of the door. No. Become creative.
Ooh, Pastor B, what's your Cash App? I don't even use Cash App, and I'm about to use Cash App today.
Yeah, just bless me. Like, I'm a feed off of that. That just blessed my soul so much this morning. So when y'all brought that up, I'm like, I gotta say it.
Wow, we are so happy you did, though. Wow.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Amazing. Wow. Yep. Sister Des or Sister Mighty.
I got no, and that was it.
You have anything to add to it?
I mean, I was just gonna say, don't quit before your break. Like it's right there. Like, but that just tags on to what Pastor B was just saying. Like, you can't quit if it's, especially like, the devil will try to stop you right when you're right, like at that very moment. Like when you're you're right at the doorway. He's like, you sure you want to walk through? You sure you want to go? It's like, don't be afraid to take that step. Don't be afraid to like you said, break the roof off the room. You know. So yeah, that's all I was gonna say. Go ahead, Pastor P. I'm good.
Pastor P. You took us to church tonight.
You put the Giveify back up.
Y'all
we're gonna get her own BBC.
Y'all crazy.
Pastor P.
Y'all are so stupid.
I had to share that. When I read that this morning, I was like, yo, God, I'm sorry for my lack of creativity. I'm sorry.
That hurt.
Right? That hurt my feelings. Twan, that hurt my feelings too. But then it snapped me out of it, you know?
That's so amazing.
It gave me that push I needed. I don't know about y'all, but it gave me that push I needed.
No, that was a I can't even talk. So God places us in situations where faith is required for the dream to come true, and reasoning will not make God's dream come true. We need to become familiar with the presence of God and understand that the journey of the dream that God has for you will always include God as your companion while you're going through, right? So those that are tuning in, as you know, we say every week that this recap is a small, thank you, Deacon. There we go. Give us a tiny piece. It's not even the appetizer. It is the bread that comes to the table.
Yep. One piece.
One piece. Like one piece. You got to send the waiter back for
right.
more.
Right.
This recap is just a small piece of the double portion of words that we get from Saturday service and Sunday encounter service. So we encourage you guys, please go back and share it as well. If you were blessed by this panel today, if you were blessed by our conversation, we love having this conversation because, you know, like we learned last week, we all have different perspectives of the word, and it's so great to come together and fellowship and talk about it. So we encourage you guys to, you know, write us, talk to us when we're on, and then also go back and watch it for yourselves. And, you know, maybe next week, talk about it. We'll bring it back up, right? And if you guys have any questions, right, before we go into the announcements, do you guys have any last remarks about Saturday's drive-in service or Sunday's encounter service that I may have missed?
Nope. You did a great job as usual.
Oh, thank you, Pastor P. Thank you. I appreciate it. So with the announcements, like I say every week, this is the church that never sleeps. Even in a pandemic,
right?
We don't sleep. It's like every time I'm getting an alert.
Now.
Right.
It's like you home, you ain't doing nothing. Look, you home, you ain't doing nothing.
Right. Every hour I'm getting an alert. This is going up. This panel's coming.
Right.
But it's a great way to keep you guys connected because we know during this time it's hard. You know, as Pastor P said earlier, that some people use the church to say that, you know, they use the church to feed them. Right. So we're still trying to feed you during this time. But remember that even though the building is not open, you still have the church within inside you, and you also have us on social media, right? So starting tonight at 8 p.m., we have a parent talk with Bishop on Bishop's page, okay? Tomorrow, Tuesday at 1 p.m., we have a daddy talk with Bishop. You know, we love talking to Bishop, so we love when he's posted up on Facebook. So he has all these different series going on. But at 1 p.m. tomorrow, we had the daddy talk with Bishop, as well as in the evening at 7 p.m., we have the women's ministry. They're back for another discussion. This discussion is called A Crisis Reveals Influencers.
Wow,
right?
That's going to be good.
That's going to be so good. I love our panel discussions, whether it's the women's ministry, men's safe house. You guys bring the singles ministry. Every ministry brings some good word to each week, right? So please tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. Wednesday, you already know what Wednesday is. It is our amazing Word Impact Bible study, right? With Bishop and Pastor Nick. Just as much as Bishop gives us every layer to this Redefined series, Bishop and Pastor Nick give us a layer each week when it comes to Word Impact. So we encourage you guys to watch that at 7 p.m. Thursday, we have a new series that's starting with Bishop at 7 p.m. Sister Maya, do you want to talk about it or the title?
Yeah, Leaders in the Kingdom. Bishop started a series speaking, it's to everyone, but specifically as well, people who are in positions of leadership, pastors, deacons, whoever. Just really good insight on how you can manage life for this time that we're in right now.
We are here for the new series. We are here for them.
We are not starved for word, that's for sure.
Right. That's one thing. I know you guys are running out of notebook paper. That's why I put all my notes put all my notes on my computer, because fooling around with Bishop, you got to buy school supplies, not for your kids, but for you.
Can't write fast enough, right?
Right. You better go get it while they're 69 cents. But on Friday, we have a discussion at 12 p.m. noon. And then Friday is a special Friday because it's Fresh Friday. Is Fresh Friday.
Hey.
Both of us like, huh? What's happening?
I'm like, I'm going to just go with it. I'll roll with it. Whatever y'all doing.
Fresh Friday, like I said, it's a bunch of laughter, it's a bunch of shade, and a bunch of fellowship, right?
Yeah, it is.
So please tune in with us Friday at 7 p.m. And then, of course, as we go into the weekend, we have On Point Radio at 9 with Bishop and Pastor Nick, as well as drive-in service, weather permitted, at 12 p.m. And then also something I want to mention is the emerging worship services, guys. I'm telling you,
Awesome.
From the worship to the word is just amazing. Even though it's geared for the younger adults and everything, no matter what age bracket or demographic, please, we encourage you guys to tune in and also support Emerging Worship. They're doing an amazing job Saturday night, and we are loving it. So kudos to you, Emerging Worship. We love you guys, especially when Deacon Antoine ushers us in.
And he be praying and everything.
Yeah, he be
that
praying.
Deep Barry White voice. That deep Barry White voice.
And then on Sunday, we have all of our encounter services, 8, 9, discussion at 10, 11, and 12, right? Sister Maya, do we have anything this Sunday evening?
We do. We have 10 times better.
Okay. So 10 times better is continuing. I know we didn't have this past Sunday, but you can go back and watch communion because
Bishop is busy.
Yeah. So 10 times better. 10 times better is a men's series.
It's men's series, but everyone can enjoy it.
Right.
Yes.
I've definitely learned a lot from that too.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's a pre and post discussion. And I do want to say, whenever you see that there's going to be a pre or post discussion, I encourage you guys to jump on there because that gives you a time to ask Bishop and Pastor Nick any questions or comments that you may or concerns that you may have about anything, any series that we're currently in during this time. Okay. And then next Monday, you will see these amazing people back here at 5:30, as well as Maya and Pastor Nick on Maximize Monday, okay, at 1 p.m. Panel, you guys, I love you guys. You guys.
You too, man. Tino, give me a tissue.
Y'all do an amazing job, but
always fun.
It's always a good time. We thank you again, amazing Pastor P, for joining us and
Thank
dropping
you.
your wisdom.
Thank you for having me. I love
We love you. We love you.
Love you
all
too.
right. And we do want to, if you guys see us at drive-in service or anywhere, you know, give us a shout out.
Come for Jesus.
Right.
Or if you see us on social media in the connections group or on the page, you know, just shout us out, okay? But Bethany family, we'll show you some love, and Bethany family, we'll see you next weekend. Love you. Be blessed.
Bye.
Bye-bye.